What's up?
We're live.
Just so you know, we were like 5 seconds doing this, like just posing for no reason. It took
Just
so
staring
long.
at you.
The thing just kept spinning to go live. I was like, come on, hurry up. I'm tired of smiling like this. I look like a weirdo.
It saw our faces and was like, nah,
Yo,
maybe not.
instantly there are five people. Jeez. Good morning. Good
Oh,
morning and good night. That was it. See you guys later. That's all we wanted to do was say good morning. You guys can hear me perfectly fine, can you?
I hear
Could
you
you?
good. Your sound sounds excellent to me.
Excelente. Good.
Excellent.
That's what's up.
Good morning, Ruby.
Good morning, Ruby.
Ruby, Ruby, Ruby.
Morning,
Ruby, Ruby,
Tony.
Ruby. Tony, Tony, Tony.
What's up, Dinah?
Dana, na, 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 na. Oh,
You
sorry.
know, I always say Dinah, but is it Dina? I'm assuming it's Dinah. But
Yeah, that's a great question. I say Dinah just because of my
right, you,
association with the Bible, but it could be
it's
Dina.
true. Yeah, it could be like a Spanish thing, like Dina.
Well,
That's
I wonder
Dina.
how it's actually supposed to be spoken in Hebrew. Dine.
Um, just the letter A. Ah, or
Ah,
I A. Ia.
ah.
Sounds yeah. I think it's the first one. It's off the Bible storybook. Oh, you think so? You don't know
Dinah.
what your real name is? How it's pronounced?
Well, it could just be a pseudonym. This might not be her real name.
Hmm. Okay, got you. That does make a lot of sense.
Mm,
Alias, I get it.
alias. Alias.
Yeah. So the
Alien. Alias.
oh, okay. She just said it.
Oh, there. See? Now, is it Lisa or
We're
Leisha?
gonna keep going. Every time she says something new, we're just gonna add to it.
Yeah, we'll just just change the letters a little bit. Now, is it
Yeah.
Hebrew? Or
Right.
I'm just kidding. Okay. Joke is old.
You already
Retire
know
it.
my real name. Anybody know my real name? Who
Is
knows
it
my real name?
Michael?
Nope.
Oh God, I don't know your real name.
Nope. Who,
Matao. Mateo.
whoever follows me will prove to be the number one fan,
Because
and
they'll
I would
know.
love you for it if you watch my channel. Not Apostate Coalition, my regular channel. I have a real name. Yes,
Ah,
Ruby, got it. She's a stalker.
well, I think
Ru-
you probably told me that day that we met, but
yeah, no,
I just usually
Lewis
call
Cinnamon.
people by their nicknames
Yep. I
because I assume that there's a potential that they want to remain anonymous.
yeah, that was my point. Actually, my YouTube channel before used to be called, oh, it was MJ in Context. Then that changed to XJWMJ in Context, and now it's just XJWMJ. But it was because of that. I was trying to hide myself. I failed anyway because everybody still found me because I showed my face in like my first video. But I don't care. I mean, it's whatever. I was
Right.
bound to lose people in that faith anyway.
Yeah, there's not much you can do unless you really want to play it close. And I feel like I lived that double life for so long. I'm over it. I can't
Yeah,
pretend for nobody, for nothing.
yeah, and we're trying to stay away from it as much as possible. Ironically, and hypocritically, I have a channel that talks all about it. And my next video that's coming up is a deep dive. It's like serious. Like it's been taking me a
On
month to
what?
make. It's basically on the name Watchtower. It's history, what it means,
Oh,
and
okay.
everything that tags along with it. There's like conspiracies in the video too, more speculative than I mean more informative than speculative.
That's awesome.
Because I also try not to dabble too much in conspiracy because I want to be true to my word.
You have to be careful, but I don't think that there's anything wrong with acknowledging what the
Yeah, exactly.
conspiracy is, right? Because I think for educational purposes, understanding and knowing the difference between a conspiracy and then factual evidence is important when you're coming out from a religion that is always speculative, right? Like there's this conspiracy that the world is going to end. So I think we're naturally geared toward that type of thinking.
Yeah.
So if you can like on your your show or your video show both that I
Yeah.
think that's actually better for people.
Yeah, and it's very visual. My video is very informative in a visual standpoint. I get to really get you to think. And it's not just because it's an apostate thing to speculate and try to, I don't know, I guess defame the organization, but it's really a thing where anybody could question because it's so weird the things that they do and the things that come up. It's obvious. Like you got to question like why are they doing this? Why is this
Mhm.
there?
I think it's great too for any former cult member to be able to catch that kind of show video because I watch them a lot. Like I watch a lot of Mormon deconstruction videos or whatever evidence of their harm, just like I would with Jehovah's Witnesses, because I do think they're one and the
Yeah.
same and they kind of follow the same procedures. So if you can get your content in front of other cult members and interest them,
Yeah.
that's
Ex-
opening the floodgates.
Definitely, bro.
Yeah, bro.
And I, and I'll learn things. I'll probably be in cliques so that I'll learn things that I never learned before.
Oh
Put my
gosh,
foot in the door.
the clicks.
Clicks, bruh. All right, so today's topic is on anonymous gospels, right?
Who are they? Oh
Oh my gosh.
my god.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, that's amazing. I love hearing that.
Yeah, Fixing My Faith too was actually the first channel that I went on to have an interview with. Or he interviewed me,
Is
and
that
it
Vern?
was very special. It kind of broke the ice for me to like not be so nervous and
Mm-hmm.
goofy on camera without feeling like I'm a loser. And yeah, so that basically got me started. But thank you, I appreciate that. I'm trying my best to wake people up in a funny way. But this new video that's coming out is more on the serious side of things to help even further because of all the stuff that's going on, like the bombings, the killings, everything that's going on between the XJW community and the JW community. I just gotta make it more serious to wake people up because it's serious. I
It
mean,
truly is. It's taking a very violent turn.
yeah, definitely.
And I feel like that violence has always been there under the surface because of their teachings and procedures, right? It's just kind of natural that those kind of ideologies would grow, violent temptations.
Yeah,
So it's very important that the world understands why this is starting to ramp up. It's not because of us as individuals, it's because of the directions that are coming, trickling down from the
yeah,
GB.
right. I mean, and I'm big on violence is not the answer, especially for an apostate to commit such crime because it further feeds into their notion that apostates are up to no good, that they're just unstable. But then again,
Crazy.
we also understand apostates because of all the trauma, right? Everything that they go through, and it all stems from the organization and what they stand for. And that's what my video is also about to help you understand from an apostate point of view to even a JW's point of view and get you to understand why they think that way. And I'm here to counter and come and make a balance and so we can all come together and everyone gets met halfway. And I'm trying my best to do that. And it's taking me a while. And I'm actually going to be doing some more recording after this. So I can't wait.
Aren't you special?
Yeah, very. I mean, very.
You're very special. And we appreciate all the time and effort that you put into your content.
Thank you. Thank you. And you too. You too.
Yeah.
So, anonymous gospels. We all know what gospel means, right? I mean, I didn't know what gospel meant when I was in the truth. Oh, sorry, in the religion.
Is it good news? What does it mean?
It's the word gospel.
Yeah.
Anybody can take a guess what the word gospel means?
I feel like I know it. It's in there, but it's not at the front of my brain.
Yeah, it's basically that. Insights on the truth of the life of Jesus Christ.
Jeebus.
But the anonymous gospels, it says it right there. It's witnesses teach that there are four gospels, and they're written by the authors of those books. So if Matthew's written by Matthew, Mark by Mark, stuff,
Exactly.
but that's not exactly how the Gospels were read. I mean, written. They were written by various people, and we know them as Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John. But that Matthew, what was it? Matthew and Luke. What was it? I think it was Matthew and John were among the 12 apostles, while Mark is believed to have been a companion of Peter, and Luke a companion of Paul. So it's like it's not even all the disciples that are writing these gospels.
There's like strings attached, like these little tiny tethers attached to each one.
Yeah, pretty much. And witnesses will try to gear you into the belief that they're the only ones that read it and that nobody else did, and that
Divine
everything that is
inspiration.
behind that story, they're all the same. But we've actually uncovered how every single story in that
Right.
gospel is a little different, sometimes even a lot different. If I can think of a couple examples, I wrote a few examples on here, like the example of Mary, Magdalene, however you want to say it. Her, I actually wrote it on my phone. Her depiction on or the story behind her in the tomb and finding Jesus's body. That whole story changes in every
Mhm.
gospel. I don't know if you knew that, Ryan.
Yep. Yep. And in Mark, where the women go to the tomb and then go, like the angel tells them, like, go tell people that he's
Yeah.
risen. That part isn't even in Mark. That comes later. The earliest transcripts do not have that portion of the story.
Yep. That's exactly where I'm getting at, right? Because let's see if I can find it in my notes here. So in Matthew 28,
Mhm.
chapter 28, verses 1 through 10, it talks about how Mary approaches the tomb, and it says that there's an angel that rolls away the tomb and announces Jesus' resurrection. But in Mark, it says that she finds the stone already out. There is
Mhm.
no angel involved. And then in Luke, it describes how that women find the stone taken out, and two men in the tomb announce his resurrection. And it's just like Ryan said, these women were told not to say anything, but there's another gospel that says they did say something, and they told others. So it's like things don't really add up, and it gets you questioning whether or not it's valid what it's being said, or if it's just, I don't know, like spreading false information
Or
but
they're
saying it's true.
or they're taking a smaller story, because usually that's how the stories start, is they start smaller and then they get embellished over time as people start to ask questions. Like society is like, oh, you're telling me about the, but they're going to say, oh, well, how come they didn't go tell people? And then the higher ups, the elites, are like, oh shit, okay, now we've got to kind of fill in the gaps to this story and say, and actually, no, an angel did come and then he told the. So it's just, in my opinion, like hyperbole, just an addition to the story because it lacked something.
Right. Yeah. And in the order of things too is different.
Oh yeah, the orders are all like,
Like Mark,
none of them match up.
no, yeah, Mark is believed to be the first, traditionally accepted to be the first writing.
Yeah. Hmm.
I think the Jehovah's Witnesses believe that too, but
I think so.
there is a video that they released. This is part of the convention videos, where they have this guy go on his adventure to discover these tablets and manuscripts, and he mentions Matthew being the first, Mark the second, and it's kind of not true. And I know XJW Caleb did a great video on that. You can check him out on that. He explains it very well. But yeah, I mean, witnesses will tell you something when in reality it's not. There's always a JW point of view, but then there's also a scholarly consensus, and that's more of the factual. I mean, take it with a grain of salt. Like, you have to understand that this is what the organization has been doing for years. They manipulate and twist things, and make you out to think that what they say is true. And they'll go on and they'll have these videos where they have someone go out and physically show you, like go on these great adventures to bring the Bible to you, show you all these manuscripts and stuff. And it's crazy to me. And I tend to think like, wow, you guys are going on all of these like discovery, you having all getting all these discoveries, and yet you still don't really go by what the Bible is actually telling you. And that's the type of validity that they demonstrate in order to prove to you they're the truth. And it's just to how do you say that? It's like to mask, right? They want to mask what's the true, the
You're
actual truth. They
harmonizing.
want to look right. They want to harmonize and be the good guy. They want to look like they're the good guy, but they're not.
No, because if you ask me, understanding the Bible would be to do the things that we're doing, the kind of research, instead of forcing the Bible to conform to their standard of a good story,
Yeah,
trying to make it all univocal when it's not. It's never been, not from the Hebrew scriptures to the Aramaic.
yeah.
Same thing.
So Matthew is understood as the apostle and a tax collector. Mark is the companion of Peter, and then Luke is considered the physician in the group and companion to Paul. And John is believed as the beloved disciple, the one Jesus loved the most. Obviously, Jesus doesn't love anybody more than others, but that's what the Bible says. And the dates of which these books were written, Mark obviously coming first, and that's backed up with scholarly consensus. Like they really went digging, and they found that Mark was written between 65 to 70 AD.
Nah.
Matthew was written 80 to 90
No,
AD.
no. The temple did not even fall until the 70s. There's no way. There's no way. It would have come after the temple fell, especially because of the way that they're prophesizing about the falling of the temple. It's like they know something. You know what I mean? Like they already know the secret, so now they're trying to like retroject history into their story.
They truly believe that it was written in 85 to 95 AD for Luke, and then
Nope.
For John,
Luke was
90 to
definitely
100
written
AD.
in like the beginning of the second. No, I just can't. I can't even deal with it.
And they believe that these writings were inspired by God and reliable and authoritative. Like, that's their understanding. That's what they believe. Now, for many believers, right, the divine inspiration of the Gospels is more important than the human authorship. And the teachings of Jesus still remain in the Gospels somewhat accurately to what the witnesses teach, except where John comes into play. That's where things change, because John's interpretation is more of the divinity of Jesus Christ, and Jehovah's Witnesses reject that.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you have any more on that, Ryan, but that's a gist of the anonymous gospels. It's called anonymous for that reason, because there is no proof of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John writing these books were written way after their time. So it's like, you can't really say that they wrote it. And there's a lot of anonymous authors who were not eyewitnesses, but part of early Christian communities that could say they took part in writing these gospels. And if I can look into my notes, if there's anything else that I wanted to say, oh yeah, it's more on the differences, right? We understand there are many differences, like the walking on water. And Matthew includes Peter's attempt to walk on water, adding drama and making it feel like a crazy story, right? And Mark focuses on the disciples' fear and shock of that event. John focuses on emphasizing the immediate safety that Jesus demonstrated by bringing his disciples out of the river or the ocean or whatever. The crucifixion is another story that is not manipulated, but different. They focus
Could
on
be
different
manipulated.
parts of the crucifixion. Matthew focuses on the fulfillment of his death, what the prophecy entails, on the earthquakes
Community.
and the resurrection, what that death means about his resurrection. Mark just goes straightforward, focusing on how Jesus suffered, and then Luke focuses on that, the thief that Jesus was with, and how he basically blessed the
Barnabas.
thief for believing in him. That story is found in Luke. I didn't know that. I thought that was like throughout all the Gospels. And then John focuses on like the theological significance of his death, like also including the piercing on the side of Jesus. If you guys didn't know about that. And I don't know if you guys know the story about the how Jesus took the loaves of bread, just a few for like thousands of people to feed. I don't know if you knew about that story, Ryan, the feeding of the 5,000.
Mm-hmm.
So Matthew, it shows how Jesus feeds 5,000 men, women, and children with 5 loaves of bread and 2 pescados, which is fish. And he highlights on the importance of Jesus distributing that to them. Mark adds a sense of urgency, describing how the crowd followed Jesus to a deserted place. He also notes that Jesus organized the people into groups of hundreds and fifties before feeding them. And then Luke emphasizes his compassion, like more of the his approach with it, and an intention. And he actually healed people. So Luke emphasizes how he healed people before feeding them. You don't find that in the earlier Gospels. And then in John, it says here that he provides additional context, noting that it was near the time of the Jewish Passover, and he also introduces the boy who had the 5 loaves and 2 fish, adding a personal touch to the story. So with that story, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. I'm not that familiar with it, but the point is that it's different, and all these stories are somewhat similar, but they don't really emphasize. I mean, they don't really say the same exact thing, and that's the point of the Gospels and why it's anonymous. Because if it were them back to back writing it, they would stick to the same story. But it's the same way with the Kings and Chronicles, how the stories don't add up, but it's because they're different interpretations. For example, you know how we all know that in Kings, Jehovah was the one who incited David to take a census, and then in Chronicles, it's Satan who does it.
Yeah.
It's just how stories get passed along to different
Right.
people, and interpretations change.
Yeah, their
But
focus was on something different, pertaining likely to what the questions in society were at that time or within their, I don't know if you want to call them like a, not network of people, but for those who were considering the sects that were considering the Gospels or
no.
Jesus to be a real person.
And by the way, I think it was Samuel, not Kings. I think I said Kings, but that's yeah. I mean, that's the whole reason why we had a theme in one of our earlier episodes about the what's that word? I'm going to blank here. Where the Bible was not inspired because of its errors and different interpretations, and that has a lot to do with, I mean, if you would think of the Holy Spirit being someone who or something that is perfect and inspiring these men to write these, why are the interpretations so different? Sorry, I'm reading the comments here. Ruby is blowing it up. Oh, okay, that's true. She says just because it doesn't have the exact same detail doesn't mean discrepancy, in my opinion. Yeah. What's your
It depends what you're, it really, you can see it that way. And that's absolutely normal, okay, to to believe that. And I don't like my goal personally isn't to make you think like, oh, I can't love Jesus because all the stories about him aren't the same. Just for me, I think, when I've been told that everything says exactly the same thing, and then when I find out actually it doesn't, and these differences make a difference to me personally, I have to investigate. But for other people who just look, I think Jesus existed. There's some stories about him. Whether how much of it is true or not, at least I have an inkling of who this guy was. And if that's how you're taking the Gospels or the Bible entirely, then that honestly, that to me is how you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be like, what can I, just like the anonymous gospel authors did, how can I see Jesus and interpret him for my life? And if you see that's exactly what the gospel authors were doing, oh wow, there's this amazing guy. How can I put these stories out because this is how I see Jesus, this is how I like him? How can I get more people to feel that exact same way? I I'm cool with that. It's when people try to put it in front of me and say, well, it says exactly this and that's like that, and you have to behave like this because of that. That's where I'm like, in the details. Like this would never work for a personal relationship like MJ if you and I were no, okay. You and somebody else are dating. Let's not do that with you and me. But like if you come home and like the devil's in the details and you're telling a different story every single time your partner says like where were you or what you were doing, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Right? But if this is just so you have some idea of who Jesus is, fuck yeah, that's cool. I ain't no problem with that.
Yeah, and I don't want to reject the Bible's message overall. I mean, there is good that comes from it. From a standpoint of being an agnostic polytheist, it's like I believe in the message of the Bible. I believe that there's gods and stuff like that, but I also believe in the Holy Spirit as a God. So I believe that a
Oh, do
God should
you?
be truth, should spill truth, should bleed truth, and for a Bible being claimed to be inspired by this Holy Spirit, why? What's with all the contradictions? Even if these contradictions aren't necessarily wrong, but why have them?
It's a
Eh,
little confusing.
Yeah, and Ruby pointed out the fact that she that we should have an episode digging into like the more of the canons that are not
Yeah.
in the Bible, and I agree with that. I mean, the
There's so much
Apocryphon of
stuff.
John, the Apocryphon of John. I don't know if you've read that.
Oh,
That's
wait.
like
Wait. The Apocryphon of John, I thought that was Revelation. No? Hold on.
there are many canons, there are many stories that are not put in the Bible, and I mean there's rumors out there that the churches are kept them from the Bible in order to create a different narrative. I don't know much about it, but I would love to study more on it and make it an episode. Even if you want to come on, Ruby, that'd be good. We even discussed about having people on the show, so we're not shy in that. What's up, Noel? How do you say your first name? Is it I know what it is. It's backwards for the first name. I get it.
Okay, no, the
Charlie.
Apocryphon of John is a second century book. Okay. For some reason, but there's another name for Revelation.
What, the apocalypse?
Is that what's the other name for Revelation? I thought it was the Apocryphal of John. I guess not. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't matter. I can figure it out. I probably have it in my notes. In my
but
notes.
that is something that we can definitely look into. Was there many?
Well, the when you think about, I think one of my biggest issues with the Bible is the canonization. Because the canonization was like, look, these are the only books y'all are allowed to look at, allowed to believe in. Everything else is nonsense. When similarly, those same things could be said of the different books of the Gospels, right? Because they didn't necessarily harmonize. I'm sure I mean, there's tons of things that they cherry pick, that they ignore. Similarly, with any of the books about Mary that didn't make it into the gospel, the Bible, and Jesus, the book of Jesus saying, or the Gospel of Thomas. Like so many cool stories that we don't know about Jesus simply because the ones in
Hmm.
the Bible are touted as true, but they're just as different as those other books, if you ask me.
Hmm. Have you ever read the Book of Enoch?
Not all of them. The first one, but I haven't read the second and third. I think there's three of them.
I've been kind of like afraid to read these books. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I was afraid. I'm less afraid, but still, like, should I? Because
You know what? You really really should, because basically all authors did, all writers did back in the day, is they were inspired by these other stories. And some of them, like Enoch, didn't make it into the Bible, but Enoch is even mentioned, and the book is even mentioned. Is it in Jude, where the book of Enoch is mentioned? So how are you going to mention a book, but then don't put it into the literature, into the canon? That to me doesn't add up. That doesn't make sense to me.
same with the gods and the names, and even the goddesses, like that just don't want to be mentioned. Just reason behind it. If it's
Hiding
mentioned,
something.
it happened. If it's not mentioned, it didn't happen. But when it's secretly hidden, then it's because it was a thing and then not brought to light. And that is very, I mean, that makes the Bible look bad. It makes Christianity look bad.
It's just weird how they don't talk about this stuff. It's weird how you get into the kingdom hall and the only thing they want to talk about is specific scriptures. And if you wanted to say, like, hey, well, what about the Gospel of Mary? You would be looked at like you had three heads. When, why not? If it's an inspired book by God, what did these white dudes from Rome, like, where did their authority come from? Right? Like, they have no authority to tell you what's sacred, divine, or not, or inspired or not. That should be, like Ruby said, that should be your decision. If you still want to believe in Jesus and, like, hey, there's some other thoughts about him in a similar time frame, right? If people can write books about Jesus 50 years after his death, then why wouldn't I want to see what other people wrote during that same time period? It's weird that you just annex it.
Yeah.
At least I think that would just make my mind go, are you trying to get me to believe a specific narrative?
Right. Yeah, these contradictions, we tried to point it out a little bit in our first few episodes.
We
I think
could
it was,
we could do that, like
but
be
we
more
can
specific
continue doing that.
at some point. At some
It's
point.
just, it's just, to be completely honest, there's a lot. um, yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, you can. You just also have to be careful because, like I mentioned, a lot of these stories are not. They're kept from the public. Throughout history, churches have hidden all of these things, and you also got to be careful with. I mean, sure, you can get their opinion, but I wouldn't seek the church's opinion. I would probably just seek your friends' opinions, because they could also be behind it. I mean, the governing body of the Jehovah's Witnesses are behind a lot of things. I wouldn't go up to them for questions, but opinions are good.
Yeah, at least see what they're basing it on.
Yeah,
Why
because
this, not that.
it's always going to be a biased opinion, obviously. So you also got to take that into consideration. Just look at the facts. You know what I'm saying? Like, read into everything. Oh, nice. Okay. Laura, do you like it? Is there anything that stands out to you that is like, whoa? I know that in the book of Enoch, don't they talk about like the actual story of the Nephilim?
Well, see, that's so what I was saying before about, like, Genesis 6 verses 4. So that's the first time we see the Nephilim, right? And they are called renowned heroes. So at one point they were legendary people who were respected in Canaan. And then there's this story of them being demonized. So what did somebody do? They hear this story, the author of Enoch, they're like, oh man, that's a really cool story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to write one about that and I'm going to fill in the gaps. And that's what the book of Enoch kind of does. It tries to explain why there were sons of God, angels, which were actually gods, who came down to earth. Why did they do that? What happened? So it's, yeah, people, right? It's really cool how you just get inspired by
There's
a story and you just want to expand upon it. That's what people do, and that's cool. Like, I have no issue with that. It's just when it's touted as truth where I'm like,
yeah, it's a lot of
right
information.
pick.
But definitely, if you guys, we do accept people to come on and give their opinion.
Yeah, if you guys ever, we should maybe do that one time. Have a show where we talk and ask questions and just have an open mic sort of.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Um, I'm just.
Yes, they survived after the flood. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, you good?
They tell us they're dead, right? The J Dubs tell us that in the flood, all of these like huge, evil, blood drinking monsters died. And then we find out that as Moses and Joshua and stuff go into the land, they've got to defeat these huge, gigantic monsters. So, like, which is it, brah? Which is it?
They also said that Noah went preaching to everyone about the end of the world, but that also didn't happen.
Bro, that blew my mind. I only learned that like last year. I was
Yeah,
reading the
same.
story. I was reading the story and I was like, wait. Where's the part where he goes around and starts like, I know he doesn't knock on the doors, but they kind of gave you that impression that homie was
Yeah,
out
right.
there in the crowds, just like stepping on like a rock, standing up above everybody. The end is coming.
Right.
He's like the first apocalyptic preacher.
And I mean, that story is kind of messed up if you think about it. There are children too that are
Oh
involved
my
and they don't
God.
know anything.
That
And
story's so bad. It
he's
doesn't
like,
make
oh, well,
any
I
sense.
received instruction from Jehovah. I guess I got to build this. But I'm not going to tell nobody. I'm just going to make them ask when they come to me. And that's
And then
it.
laugh at them
And then,
when they don't get it.
right.
Ay, ay, ay.
So,
Oh, Ruby, stop. You're very, 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 very intelligent. And
Ruby is like, she, first of all, she's 10 times smarter than me.
I'm not very smart
Ryan
and
is like
articulate.
10 times smarter than me. Ryan is the one that started this show, invited me on it. I was just like, okay, should,
Because like I don't that's the thing, like I don't think that you have to be a scholar to educate, to teach, and to discuss this stuff, right? Like, I think that's unfair to say, oh, we can only like watch Dr. Kip. No, oh God, that was I love Dr. Kip. Dr. Kip Davis is amazing, but I don't think that we can only watch him to learn. I sometimes I learn some of the best stuff just because of the questions that people ask that I haven't thought myself. And then it's as simple as finding the answer to that, right?
yeah,
So having these open discussions for me is helpful because I don't always see every single gap. But when you say a simple like, well, what about this and how come? And I'm like, oh, why didn't I never thought of that? How can I explore that thought? Sorry, that
right.
was a rant.
No, you're good. You're good. I like to be more focused on like the common sense side of things. Like, and I'm also
Right,
very
like
good at video
logistically.
editing. That's what I do. So that's my expertise. But I like these conversations. It helps me too.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. I appreciate that. Sometimes I feel really stupid. I feel really stupid sometimes. I really do. I feel like a dope. Like I don't
Listen,
understand people.
I'm
Like
on the same boat. Okay,
being a JW ruined my thinking brain, and I'm like, am I thinking properly?
that's the issue.
Seriously, I'm
That's the
like,
problem.
am I dumb?
You got like a whole life of, well, for me in my case, it's like 30 years of information that I have to debunk,
40.
and just 40 for you.
40.
And were you born and raised?
No, 5 years old ish. From 5 to 10, it build until it
Okay.
was finally like, yeah.
Oh, okay. I
But
mean,
my
technically,
formative years, my thinking brain years, my critical thinking skills, like, were underdeveloped, squished.
mhm, I get that. I mean, if you're 5 years old, I'd still consider that being born and raised because you're an adolescent. You don't know enough
Right.
to
It's hard to
decipher. So
differentiate because you're just starting to remember your life at that time.
yeah, you're just trying to figure yourself out, and you're only going to go by what your parents are doing.
Hmm.
So yeah, but I mean, that's all the information I had on the anonymous gospels,
This book, you
and
guys, if you like, I don't know if you've ever heard of Robin Faith Walsh. You can find her on YouTube. You can find her on Myth Vision, Gnostic Informant, so many shows she has went on. I highly recommend this book. She really explains things in a way that I've just never heard before. She gets into the Greek words, into the Hebrew, what they truly mean, because we have to remember that we're looking at translations. And that's like a really easy peasy way to trick people and to change a word into something it truly didn't mean in the context with which it was written, right? Please consider buying. It's hard. I'm not going to lie. I attempted to read this book like 3 different times because it was hurting my brain because she's so smart. And I was getting so much, it's jam packed with information. But if you can get through it, I promise you're going to have a whole new perspective on the anonymous authors and how it came to be. Amazing book.
if you find a link to specific videos, you could put that in the description.
That, you know what?
Videos that call out to you.
That's actually something good. After the show, I will find some links to Robin and just put them on because she does have a way, and she's done the work. I mean, she's intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do that after the show. I'll put some links in there so y'all can check her out.
Coolio. So that's all I had to say for today. Anybody else have something else to say? Any questions?
Let me think. Let me try to. What is the most shocking thing? What is the most shock? Okay, you know, for me, waking up, one of the most shocking things that I learned about the Gospels is that Paul never met Luke. Whoever the anonymous writer of Luke is, never met. Don't know each other.
Yeah.
And that shook me because I just always assumed that there was this connection between Peter and Luke, and then Luke to the other apostles, etc. Because Paul only met Jesus' brother James, and I forget who else. And it was only for like a period of 13 days. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
So that threw me for a loop because it was just always so interwoven that these guys were working with each other, talking to each other, and meanwhile they're being written in different parts of the world.
Yeah, that is a mystery, especially
Isn't
knowing
it?
how, authors like Moses supposedly wrote like so many books of the Bible, even
Yeah,
before,
5 books
even after his
according to
death,
them.
right?
Right, even writing about his death, and then come to find out that a lot of the Torah wasn't even formulated into the form that we have it until like the 3rd, 2nd century. And we're thinking, like, we're taught that the Torah goes back to 1200 BCE, and it actually came 1,000 years. Like, that's a huge difference, y'all. 1,000 years later is when we actually get the Torah. Makes you think.
1,000 years, man.
Right? When you think about 1200 BCE to 200 BCE, that is 1,000 years different.
Yeah,
It's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. Anyway.
yeah, that's true. It's ludicrous.
Right. Allura, that is why I now enjoy the Bible, because I can just see it as stories, like somebody 20 years from now looking back at all my videos and going, who was this Ryan person with it, like trying to put the pieces together. I'm kind of doing the same thing, just putting the pieces together, enjoying the stories for what they were, trying to understand what would a second century Christian make of it.
Yeah. I like that idea of taking it as a non-fictional book, but then also thinking of it as a fictional book because there are a lot of fun stories too.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of them
It's
are
not
shit, obviously. A lot of them are fucking shitty as hell.
a
People
lot
are
of them are pretty
dying.
cool, man. Like if you
Babies are
really
getting
think
their
about
heads
how
bashed against the rocks.
it's it's pretty cool. I mean, the fact that Moses can split a freaking sea, yo, like that sounds pretty cool. That sounds super powerful. That's like a
Hmm.
story I would love to tell children, but there are also stories that are you have to ask whether or not they're real and if they really happened. And that I leave up to, you know, opinion because I can't prove that either.
Same.
You know,
It's our best
I that's
guess.
just it's just all talk. It's just me saying that it might not have happened, and even if it did, it's my it's how I see things in the perspective of Jehovah not being the God of who witnesses believe to be. So that the story of who Jehovah really is to me and who Jehovah was in the Bible don't add up. I mean, who they believe Jehovah is don't add up. Like,
Right. Yeah.
would really Jehovah really kill everybody in Egypt? And then have Moses open the sea to save everyone. Would he really create the flood to kill people? Like I there's so many problems that I have with the notion of Jehovah killing people. Period.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Who
add up
is
to
he
me.
as a God? Right. Is he this loving God who created us because he loved us so much that he just wanted something of his own to create and to love him, but yet he takes all that work that took him 6 days to do and just says, "What?
That's why that's
Done."
why I said I'm more on the like common sense side of things rather than having absolute knowledge because yes, I get that God is all knowing and powerful, and it's not for us to understand him very well. But you have to understand that as a God who's all knowing, who's like you wouldn't allow room for anyone to question or to even doubt. You know what I'm saying? Like I
If it were me, if I were God, it'd be in your brain. I'd just implant it there. You wouldn't even need a damn book. You just be like, yeah, accessing, yeah, accessing.
yeah,
Okay,
and
maybe not, but
no, it makes sense. Like, you know, I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from with that. But um I don't have any much not
yeah,
much to say. I'm
I don't
pretty
really
much
have anything
done.
else either. I just think that, as we've already discussed, if you are somebody who has faith in the Bible or think that it's inspired, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. More power to you. If anything, discovering other stories that we should have learned about could be eye-opening for you and might even bring you closer to the divine. Instead of seeing it like the J-dubs give it such a negative spin, like, oh, if you read these other books, you're being indoctrinated by Satan. Who who gives you the authority to say that? Maybe if Satan's this powerful dude, maybe what you have in the Bible is all the lies that he wants you to believe, and the other stuff that's been uh, left out, siloed, would give you more understanding. I mean, right? If the devil's a trickster,
You know,
uh,
I never
sorry,
understood.
that's just rant.
Yeah, I never understood the teaching that you gotta that you can't say things out loud because then Satan will hear you.
Oh God,
I never
yeah.
understood that because if if and that's I see this is where
You're
I get
scary.
with my understanding of God, and a lot of people disagree with me on this, but it's like Jehovah is also someone who hardened Pharaoh's heart, right? He could do things and make people think differently and understand what's in your head. It doesn't mean you have to say it out loud. You can even think it, and even even Jehovah could understand you. So if he can, why can't Satan? Like I just don't see how that adds up. I
Hmm.
mean, that's why people don't agree with me because I don't think Jehovah. I mean, I don't think the God that hardened Pharaoh's heart is the God that witnesses believe in, or they say is the Father of Christ. But that's me. That's the digging that I did on that. But I mean, I feel like all of what we think comes from evil influence, even if it's in our head. We're all surrounded by evil spirits. I mean, Ephesians 6:12 says that we're in a constant battle between evil spirits and the physical world. Like, there's just evil's everywhere. Doesn't have. If we think bad, it's because we're being taught to think bad. It's just that's my that's my rant. you
Evil is
know,
all around us.
evil's everywhere.
We're all on our own journey. That's why I just want y'all to follow me on my journey, because my journey isn't for you. And I know that. But if you can watch me as a person grow and ask the questions that I'd never thought of before, I just hope that that can inspire people. Not where I'm going is the inspiration, expiration, inspiration, but just the journey, the questions, because it might get you somewhere else. But again, if that makes you closer to God, or you decide you want to pull away, that's your answer. That's your journey.
Yeah,
Let's
I
do
can't
it
wait to see
together.
what I can't wait to see what where we're gonna be all at 5 years from now.
Right?
What kind of things we're gonna be coming up with? What our brain's gonna be telling us, the information we've come across.
Yeah. Sometimes like I'll watch older videos of mine and I'll go like, oh damn, I actually didn't know the answer to that. And then here I am, I'm like, I can actually talk about that topic. I learned something, and it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm really doing something for myself when it comes to either connecting to the divine or whatever, or learning like the great truths, mysteries of life. I enjoy it, and and at the point where I don't enjoy it anymore, I won't be making content. But for now, I love it.
But see, it's a good thing to express yourself on camera and record it and put it on YouTube because then that's also stuff you can look back on and
I do, and I
reflect
do. I look
and
back and
you
laugh.
learn from it. I mean, you ever heard the saying, you learn from mistakes? Like,
I'm sure people are watching some of my older content going, this fucking nut job. Oops.
that's okay.
It's okay.
We all got to start somewhere.
We do. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh,
And we will be back on next Monday at 9:45 a.m. I'm going to look up what our next topic is going to be about.
yeah. What's the, since it's out of order?
Yeah, it's oh, I had it just here. Apostate corazón. All right, so we are on what's today's date? Today is
5th
the
of August.
okay. So next week we have see how the dates are
Yeah,
different.
it's
Like
all like
like
fucked.
these two are on the same day,
Oh, no. Is it scheduled for 5? Oh, yeah. I see that. Okay.
but it's supposed to be Sweet Baby Jesus next. If you guys want to know all about Jesus, Sweet Baby Jesus, that's what we're gonna be talking about.
All right. So we
And
got to
then
fix that.
and then we got two more after that, and then it'll wrap up our series, our season for this year.
We'll take a little break skis. We'll take a little break skis.
Well, that way we can come back stronger.
Yeah, maybe we'll take some of your comments into consideration and whatnot.
So thank you guys. Ruby, if you're interested, let us know. We will have you on and we'll use your
And
brain
follow
because you are
Ruby.
incredibly smart.
I just recently followed Ruby. I feel so bad. Like if you guys make content, hey D&D, if y'all make content, please let us know so we can follow you back. I often forget to follow people back because not everybody makes content on YouTube, but I'm happy to watch and, learn about you as well and your journey, but just do that. So yeah, please follow Ruby and anybody else here who makes content.
All right.
All right.
So Thank you guys for coming once again. We love you, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Yep. Love you. Thank you so much. Like, share, subscribe. Tune in.
Deuces.
Love you.
Much love. Peace and love, bro. Deuces.